Daniel, a 35-year-old entrepreneur, sat quietly in his car as he approached the familiar roads of his hometown. After 3 years of living in bustling cities and chasing his dreams, this was his first time coming back. His heart raced with excitement and a touch of nervousness. The purpose of this trip wasn't just to visit family or enjoy the Christmas festivities. Daniel had a very personal and important mission: to propose to Min, his childhood sweetheart, and the woman who had been his unwavering pillar of support through thick and thin. The cool December air brought with it a sense of nostalgia. Christmas lights adorned every house, and the streets seemed alive with warmth and joy. But for Daniel, this wasn't just another holiday. It was a moment to solidify a bond that had carried him through his darkest days and share his future with someone who had always believed in him. The air was electric with the spirit of the season, and as Daniel gripped the small velvet box in his pocket, he felt the weight of the moment ahead. Daniel grew up in a small, peaceful town where everyone knew one another. As a child, he often found joy in simple things: running through the fields, fishing by the river, and spending hours laughing with Min, his best friend and constant companion. Min had always been by his side, her infectious laughter and kind heart lighting up even his dullest days. Their bond was unshakable, and as they grew older, it transformed into something deeper. By the time they reached their early 20s, it was clear to everyone, especially to Daniel, that Min wasn't just a friend, she was the love of his life. But Daniel had big dreams. He wanted to create a business that would make a difference, a legacy he could be proud of. To pursue those dreams, he made the difficult decision to leave the comfort of his hometown and Min. Though distance separated them, Min's support never wavered. She called often, sending him encouraging messages during his toughest moments. Her belief in him never faltered, even when Daniel himself doubted his path. Despite the miles between them, their connection remained strong, and Min's voice became a constant source of strength for him. Now, with his business thriving and his dreams within reach, Daniel knew it was time to return, not just to his hometown, but to Min, the woman who had inspired him to become the man he was today. As Daniel drove along the winding roads leading to his hometown, the landscape brought back waves of nostalgia. The sprawling fields, the scent of pine trees in the air, and the distant sight of the town's church steeple felt like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. Memories flooded his mind, racing through the fields on his old bicycle, Christmas caroling with Min, and the warmth of his family's home during the holidays. The thought of seeing Min again filled him with a mix of excitement and nerves. He imagined her warm smile, her eyes lighting up when she saw him, and the moment he would kneel with the ring in hand to ask the most important question of his life. As Daniel approached the outskirts of town, dark clouds gathered overhead, and rain began to pour in torrents, pounding against the windshield. The rhythmic sound of the wipers couldn't keep up with the storm, and visibility diminished rapidly. His heart raced as he navigated the slick roads, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Suddenly, blinding headlights from an oncoming truck appeared in his lane, veering dangerously close. The truck driver honked wildly, and Daniel instinctively swerved to avoid the collision. His tires lost traction on the rain-soaked road, sending the car spinning violently. Everything happened in a blur: the deafening screech of metal, the sharp jolt as the car collided with a tree, and then silence. The impact was brutal. Daniel's head slammed against the steering wheel, and darkness engulfed him. The rain continued to pour, drenching the scene and muffling all other sounds. A few moments later, another car approached the site of the accident. Inside was Liam, Daniel's younger brother, who was returning home after finishing a long shift at the hospital. His sharp eyes caught sight of the wrecked car by the roadside. Alarmed, he stopped his vehicle and ran toward it, his heart sinking when he realized it was Daniel's car. Liam found Daniel slumped over the steering wheel, unconscious, with a deep gash on his forehead. Blood trickled down his face, and his breathing was shallow. Panic gripped Liam, but years of medical training took over. "Stay with me, Daniel," Liam muttered as he checked for a pulse. It was faint, but steady. Grabbing a first aid kit from his car, Liam quickly applied pressure to stop the bleeding and bandaged the wound. Knowing time was critical, he called emergency services but realized the ambulance might take too long in the heavy rain. Without hesitation, Liam carried Daniel to his car, carefully laying him across the back seat. As he sped toward the hospital, his mind raced with worry. He couldn't lose his brother, not like this. Daniel awoke to the rhythmic beeping of machines, the sterile scent of antiseptic filling the air. His head pounded with pain and his vision swam before slowly focusing on the familiar but anxious faces of his family standing around him. His mother clutched his hand tightly, her eyes glistening with tears, while Liam stood at his side, exuding quiet relief. "Daniel!" his mother exclaimed, tears streaming down her face as she gripped his hand tightly. "You're awake. We've been so worried." Liam stood by the bedside, a mixture of relief and exhaustion in his eyes. "You gave us all a scare, but you're going to be fine," he said, his voice steady but soft. "You had a concussion and some minor injuries, but we'll monitor you closely for now. Just rest." Daniel nodded weakly, overwhelmed by the flood of emotions. He saw the relief in his mother's eyes, the gratitude in Liam's expression, and the quiet presence of his father at the foot of the bed. Yet, amidst the warmth of his family, there was something missing. Or rather, someone. In the corners of his mind, an image flickered like a shadow. A girl's face. She was faint, like a memory just out of reach, but her presence felt deeply familiar. Who was she? Why did the thought of her bring him such comfort? That night, as Daniel drifted back into sleep, the girl appeared again in his dreams. She stood in a golden field, sunlight illuminating her soft smile. She didn't say a word, but her gaze held a warmth that soothed Daniel's restless mind. When he reached out to touch her, the dream faded, and he woke up, his heart racing. "Min," he whispered to himself, though he couldn't fully piece together why her name felt so significant. His memories of her were fragmented. Flashes of her laughter, the sound of her voice, and a sense of longing he couldn't ignore. Over the next few days, Daniel remained in the hospital under Liam's watchful care. Despite his physical recovery, his partial amnesia lingered, leaving him frustrated and searching for clarity. He clung to the dream of the girl, whose presence seemed to anchor him in a sea of uncertainty. It was during this time that he found a notebook among his belongings. Inside, he discovered page after page of sketches. Her face, her smile, the way her hair framed her features. The drawings were unmistakably Min, and they ignited a spark of recognition within him. Though his memories were incomplete, Daniel felt certain of one thing. Min wasn't just someone from his past. She was someone he needed to find, someone whose presence held the answers he was seeking. As Daniel flipped through the notebook, a wave of emotions washed over him. Each page revealed detailed sketches of Min, her warm smile, the curve of her laughter, and the sparkle in her eyes. Even with his fragmented memory, the images stirred something deep within him. He didn't just draw these sketches, he had poured his feelings into every stroke. Among the pages, a date caught his eye. 3 years ago, just before he left town to pursue his dreams. The memories were faint, but they began to resurface in flashes. He recalled sitting under the large oak tree by the lake, sketching Min while she read a book. The way she laughed when he showed her the drawing. The promises they made to stay connected, no matter the distance. But one memory stood out above the rest. A moment when he decided he would marry her. His fingers brushed against the small velvet box in his pocket, the weight of its contents grounding him in the present. He opened it slowly, revealing the engagement ring he had chosen with so much care. The sight of the ring brought a mix of emotions: hope, longing, and fear. He had planned this trip to propose, but now, with his incomplete memories, a nagging doubt crept into his mind. What if Min had moved on? What if she didn't feel the same way after all this time? Driven by the need for clarity, Daniel began piecing together his memories through the notebook and the faint recollections that lingered in his mind. He remembered their last phone call before he left. Min's voice was steady, but he could sense the sadness beneath her words. She had told him to chase his dreams, to do what he needed to do for his future, even if it meant leaving her behind. "She believed in me," Daniel muttered, his voice barely audible. "Even when I wasn't sure, I believed in myself." Determined to reconnect with Min, Daniel asked his family about her. His mother hesitated before responding, her eyes soft with understanding. "Min's still here in town. She's been doing well," she said. "She always asks about you when we see her. I think she's been waiting in her own way." Encouraged by this, Daniel knew he couldn't wait any longer. The memories might not be fully intact, but the feelings were unmistakable. He needed to see Min, to remind her and himself of the connection they shared. The evening of Christmas Eve was lively at Daniel's family home. The warmth of the crackling fireplace and the scent of freshly baked cookies filled the air as his family gathered around the table, sharing laughter and stories. Despite the festive atmosphere, Daniel couldn't shake the unease in his heart. His fragmented memories and the uncertainty of Min's feelings weighed heavily on him. He sat quietly, observing the scene but feeling like an outsider. His mother noticed his silence and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You've been through a lot, Daniel," she said softly. "But it's Christmas. Let yourself enjoy this moment with the people who love you." Just as Daniel was about to respond, a knock at the door broke through the lively chatter. The room fell silent, and everyone exchanged curious glances before Liam rose to answer it. Standing on the doorstep was Min, her cheeks flushed from the cold and her arms wrapped around a small gift. Her eyes met Daniel's immediately, and for a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. "Min!" Liam exclaimed, stepping aside to let her in. She offered a polite smile to the others before walking straight toward Daniel. "I heard about the accident," Min said, her voice trembling slightly. "I was so worried. I needed to see you to make sure you were okay." Daniel stood, his heart racing. Seeing her in person brought a clarity he hadn't felt in weeks. The image of her from his dreams, the sketches in his notebook, it all aligned perfectly with the woman standing before him. "Minnie," he began, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she replied, her gaze soft but searching. "I'm just glad you're here, that you're safe." As the family discreetly gave them space, Daniel and Min sat together by the Christmas tree. The glow of the twinkling lights illuminated her face, and Daniel felt a surge of courage. He reached for her hand, holding it gently but firmly. "I may not remember everything," he admitted, "but I remember enough to know how much you mean to me. You've always been there, even when I didn't deserve it, and I can't let another moment pass without telling you how I feel." Min's expression softened, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She squeezed his hand, her voice barely a whisper. "Daniel, I've never stopped believing in you." The soft glow of the Christmas tree cast a warm light over the room as Daniel knelt before Min, his hand trembling slightly as he reached into his pocket. The velvet box he had carried all this way now rested in his palm, and he looked up at her with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. "Min," he began, his voice trembling as he knelt before her, "I may have forgotten parts of my past, but there's one thing I've always known, deep in my heart. You've been my anchor, my light, and my greatest joy. When I doubted myself, you lifted me up. When I felt lost, you gave me direction. I can't imagine my future without you in it." Min's breath hitched as Daniel opened the box, revealing the elegant engagement ring he had chosen with her in mind. Its delicate design sparkled in the soft light, a perfect reflection of the bond they shared. "I don't want to spend another day without you by my side," Daniel continued, his voice breaking slightly. "Min, will you marry me? Will you be my partner, my family, my everything?" Tears welled in Min's eyes as she looked at him, her heart full of emotions she couldn't put into words. Slowly, she nodded, a radiant smile breaking across her face. "Yes, Daniel," she whispered. "Yes, I will." The room erupted in cheers as Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, the fit as perfect as the moment itself. His family rushed forward to embrace them, laughter and joy filling the room. As Min leaned into Daniel's arms, she whispered softly, "This is where we're meant to be, together." Daniel held her close, the weight of the past lifting from his shoulders. In that moment, surrounded by family and love, he realized that everything he had ever wanted was right here, in this small town, with Min. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of laughter, warmth, and love. Daniel sat with Min by his side. His family gathered around the Christmas tree, exchanging stories and gifts. The room was alive with the kind of joy that only comes from being surrounded by people who truly care. As Daniel watched his parents share a quiet moment, Liam tease their younger cousins, and Min laugh at a joke his father told, he felt a profound sense of peace. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about deadlines, business strategies, or achievements. He was fully present, soaking in the beauty of this moment. Daniel's journey had taken him far from home, not just in distance but in spirit. He had pursued success relentlessly, often neglecting the bonds that truly gave life meaning. But tonight, as he sat surrounded by family and the woman he loved, he realized that true success wasn't about wealth or accolades. It was about the connections that grounded him, the love that inspired him, and the people who stood by him no matter the distance or time. Looking at Min, Daniel saw not just the woman he loved, but the embodiment of resilience, loyalty, and unwavering belief. She had been his compass, guiding him back to where he truly belonged. As the clock struck midnight, signaling the arrival of Christmas Day, Daniel raised a toast. "To family, love, and new beginnings," he said, his voice strong and full of gratitude. The family cheered, their glasses clinking together, and Daniel turned to Min. "Thank you for waiting for me," he whispered. "I promise to never let you go again." Min smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "You're home now, Daniel. That's all that matters." And as the snow fell softly outside, blanketing the town in a peaceful stillness, Daniel knew that this Christmas marked not just the end of one chapter, but the beginning of a beautiful new one.